We have seen it time and time again since he descended his golden escalator back in 2015. Donald Trump using openly racist and alarming language toward his opponents, immigrants and people of color. And now Trump is taking things even further, reportedly planning to round up undocumented immigrants in the U.S. and build detention camps if he's elected to a second term. That's according to an extensive report from the New York Times, who say Trump advisors told them a Trump administration would also expand ideological screenings of visa applicants and birthright citizenship and cut off humanitarian protections for many who've already sought asylum in the U.S. The twice impeached ex-president is also ratcheting up his rhetoric against his political opponents.
We pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections and will do anything possible. They'll do anything, whether legally or illegally, to destroy America and to destroy the American dream.
Historians and politicians have likened these comments to those made by fascist dictators like Hitler and Mussolini, expressing alarm over the potential for another Trump White House. Now, to discuss this comparison and Trump's comments here, I'm joined now by Elizabeth Sweet, the executive director of the Massachusetts Immigrant and Refugee Advocacy, or MIRA Coalition, and Jacquetta Van Zandt, host of the Politics and Prosecco videocast. Thank you both for being with me. We knew that there will be some wild things said as we go into this election season, but it seems like this latest round of comments is really dangerous. And Jacquetta, I'd love for you to weigh in on some of this.
I think wild is putting it mildly. This is absolutely abhorrent and disgusting. And this harkens back to the McCarthy era, where, you know, there's no one speaking up. There's no one sort of holding him accountable. This is dangerous, not only rhetoric, but it's a dangerous way to think. He is playing on people's fears. He's playing on their racist tendencies. I am shocked that in 2023, going into 2024, that we in America are allowing someone like this to even speak in our country. And I understand freedom of press, I understand freedom of speech, but this is absolutely dangerous.
Elizabeth, what's the danger to the immigrants and refugees that are in Massachusetts and the nation when you have President Trump on the campaign trail saying these types of things?
It absolutely is dangerous. I have to strongly agree with that. Not only is it dangerous because it increases that sense that there is some type of permission for us to use this type of rhetoric against our neighbors, but it's also raising proposals that, quite frankly, are immoral, they're probably illegal, and they're certainly un-American.
Certainly, and one of the things he mentioned was the birthright citizenship, DACA. We know that the Supreme Court already upheld that, but it looks like some of these decisions that he's proposing, none of that seems to matter when he's out on the campaign trail, Jacquetta.
But this is what I think we need to zero in on. Yeah. This can lead to racial profiling. Anyone who looks like they are non-European is going to be at risk of being harmed, of being ridiculed, of being even, harmed in a very dangerous way. I just keep going back to the word dangerous because that is what I see in my head. I see a young 14-year-old Latinx boy, walking down the street and someone who's been playing into Trump's rhetoric, targeting him. I see Black boys being pulled over by the police. It's a dangerous place to be. And I don't think that this is we can sit at the three of us and say how dangerous this is, but this resonates with his band of supporters. They believe that darker people are a threat to their existence. And that is what he's playing on. And the truth is, it isn't. What it comes down to is poverty. Being poor is what allows a lot of people to target other groups to oppress them. That's what this fear is coming out of.
supporters, especially in the Republican Party that are actually have elected seats being held, are supporting Trump and his comments. People who have the power to start, proposing some of these things.
But they don't have the power because
Okay.
the power is with him.
Yeah.
If they go against him, they lose their power. He can by simply saying, I support this person, get someone into Congress. He still holds that power. And that's a dangerous place to be. They don't have enough power to speak up against him. What if I were Nikki Haley or Chris Christie or even Ron DeSantis? If I were any of them, I would be trying to find ways that contrast who I am from who he is. And they aren't doing that. And that's exactly what we see in Congress now. No one's actually holding him accountable. And it's sad because they are the people with the most power in this country is in Congress.
Elizabeth, we know that there was a large amount, or I won't say that. There are migrants here in Massachusetts that are seeking help, support, and services, and the state has provided those for them. Is there a concern when you are helping or having conversations with these folks when President Trump says these things on a national stage? Does that worry them? Does it make them concerned? How do you deal with that conversation?
It's a great question. And absolutely, these comments should concern all of us who are wanting to welcome our newest neighbors. The reality is that, sadly, even here in Massachusetts, shocking as it is, we've seen multiple rallies and actions taken by neo-Nazi individuals in the past year and a half against some of the new immigrants who've arrived here and who so many of us are welcoming and providing services to. And so, again, when we hear a national figure making these comments, it feels as though we're opening the door to such an ugly manifestation that none of us want to see more of, especially here in the Commonwealth.
We know that we had to cap capacity for migrants in the state of Massachusetts, and a lot of folks were on both sides of that conversation and argument there. Does it hurt your efforts when you see someone like Trump stirring up folks who are like, well, listen, we've got a ton of migrants in Massachusetts. We just had to cut them off. We had, things like that. Does that then make your work even harder?
In some respects, yes. It's also incredibly short-sighted. The simple reality is that we here in Massachusetts and across the country are actually navigating some real workforce shortages, and new immigrants come here wanting to work. He spoke about ending the DACA program, and the reality is that these dreamers are individuals who've been in the United States virtually all of their lives. They've contributed actually billions into the U.S. economy, paid billions of dollars in taxes. And so ending the DACA program simply makes no sense from an economic or a humanitarian perspective.
Jacquetta, we've had debate over debate of the Republican candidates. Trump is still the front runner by many digits over a lot of these candidates. Could we see some of these candidates start to adopt some of these talking points?
I don't think who I think are the top three, DeSantis, Christie, and Haley, I don't see them doing that. I see them inching further and further away from that rhetoric, but they too they have an apology tour to go on. Outside of DeSantis, he's never going to admit that he was wrong about Trump. And no matter how much Trump comes after him, he's not going to, speak up. But Nikki Haley and Chris Christie have both been really vocal, I've seen on the debate stage, where they're saying, listen, this is the way we want to take our country. I don't necessarily agree with it, their trajectory for where they want to take the country, but it's certainly not as bad as Trump. And it's sad to even say that it's not as bad, but I think what they're going to have to do is make contrast between them and him, and they're going to have to come up with a new way to unite their own party. That's the issue within the Republican Party. I'm not their audience, so they're not going to talk to me. It's not going to change my vote. They're going to have to talk to moderate Republicans and bring them back into the fold.
I imagine some folks are thinking that a Trump White House is possible again. Another Trump White House is possible again. I mean, I hate to have you look in your crystal ball, but do you think that that's possible at this point? I know it's early, but...
No, I do think it's possible. But that means that we've got to get motivated on the Democratic side to get people not only registered to vote, but to mobilize them to vote. We have to make sure that we have people inside those polling locations who are doing the right thing, as they have been even in this last election. We've got to motivate people to get to the polls. It's not just enough to say go out and vote. We have to pull what Barack Obama did by turning the triangle upside down and building a grassroots campaign. We've got to do that. That's where it has to start, or we are in serious trouble. And right now it looks like it's going to be a long night, election night.
Does it surprise you that poll after poll Trump is leading the party when we have seen the fracture and the disarray that happens when just trying to get a Speaker of the House and comments like this? Like, is the American public really behind these types of comments?
I don't think that it's shocking to me. Look, this country was built on a lot of division. And, you know, we can go into the glory and romanticize the history of this country. But the truth of the matter is it was built upon the backs of people who were oppressed. And that is not something we've been able to erase in over 200 years. So, you know, don't forget, African Americans are only 3 or 4 generations removed from slavery. So, you know, I'm not surprised that a man is able to rise in this country with that kind of rhetoric and still play on people. We are not post-racial. I know everybody wanted to think that after 2008, but we are not post-racial. We see what's happening in the Middle East right now. And that is also another conflict that's been going on for decades and decades. So for me, the issue is, how do we unite? How do we move the needle forward? What kind of policies and legislation do we want to see in place so that people like Trump won't rise again in 10 or 15 years?
Well said. Well, Jacquetta Van Zandt and Elizabeth Sweet, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.